Shishir, I'd like to come to you again to ask you about the Gen Z this time. I mean, we see those who are, in the typically 25 years and lower age gap, which, form the employee base for a lot of organizations. How do their well-being overall has been quite different than the Gen X and Gen Y. We also saw that their coping mechanisms, they were using a lot of negative coping mechanisms, whether it was binge eating, binge watching YouTube, sort of binge drinking, etc., as versus what the Gen X, Gen Y were doing. So what has been your experience in dealing with this population and their well-being?
Yes, my experience has been consistently similar with the Gen Z. Is because there are many problems with or I would say that there are quite a few challenges that Gen Z faces. They are in their younger age groups, and this is a transition time. This is a time when they have to focus on their relationships, they have to focus on their earning, they have to focus on their professional career, they have to focus on their bodies, their appearance. So all these things fall at the same time, right? So there are multiple stressors with this generation. What we also see that since I would say since the internet or the technological boom, we have seen that the total screen time has gone up, specifically with the younger generation. And with this screen time, their coping mechanisms have reduced because their overall real interaction with people has reduced. Although the internet offers and social media does offer quite a lot of benefit, that it becomes a good buffer for them, for a lot of people who do not have the courage or probably have the privilege to talk to people in general and in real. But it has also played havoc on their sleep time. So their coping mechanisms, their overall social buffers have gone down. And I think that's why their total stress has gone up because of decreased sleep, increase in alcohol and other substance use. Now, that's a very sensitive topic again, but a very important one. So we can see that there are behavioral addictions, there are substance addictions, and there is sleep deprivation, plus unhealthy eating. I'm not saying that all the younger generations, the Gen Z, do that, but we see that these are definitely there. And that's why we can see their indices of mental health are pretty poor, right? So whether they are in the generation, whether they're in the organizations or in general public, I see a very similar trend with them. In fact, majority of my clients are from the Gen Z. So they are younger than 25. And it's painful to see that, very young people at their most productive and formative years of life go through challenges that have an impact throughout their life. Not only it has an impact, the mental health has an impact on all the areas of life at that moment, their relationship, their finances, their profession, their physical health, but also has a long-lasting impact throughout their life. So I think we need to focus, including the organizations need to focus on the Gen Z, that they are not only the pillars, but they're also the future of any organization. So we need to focus a lot on them.
Right. They definitely are the future. So, Sangeeta, your views on this? I'm sure TCS has a huge population of Gen Z. What can organizations do about this fact?
So, Hamsaz, I absolutely agree with Dr. Shishir that, this generation, there's so many stressors that they have to deal with. And I have a slightly different view on, one of the reasons why their resilience is so low. Right. So if you really look at the way our generations, past generations were, some of us came from a generation where we didn't have it all. We had to strive for some of the things. That was the culture at that time. That was the accepted norm. That was how parenting was done, right? And nothing was ever just handed over to you, right? And then after that came the next generation. Maybe I think we are the generation we should take a little bit of the blame for that, I think, because we came into a life where the country opened up, the world opened up, the world became a beautiful place. It was a global village, everything was sweet, happy, and our defenses were down. So there was sweetness, the need to need to prepare somebody for war wasn't required. Everybody lived in the global village, right? So the ethos that we began to see and began to enjoy is what we decided to pass on to our children. And we did not put them through difficult times, we did not put them through challenges. We gave them whatever they wanted because that was the world we saw. We didn't feel the need to prepare them in that way. But unfortunately, the world that they now have inherited is a world which is completely topsy-turvy. And it's got wars, it's got pandemics, it's got complications of social media, it's got so many different things which they're dealing with, which they don't know how to grapple with because they were not prepared for it. So that is my view on one of the biggest reasons for resilience. And I'm really passionate about this, and especially because Dr. Shishir was talking about working with children. I also work now with children on that level, to say that I want parents to understand that they need to build resilient children now. And we need to teach parents, and we need to make them aware of the fact that how do you bring up resilient children, because that they're going to have to do that, right? So that is one. Coming to TCS, and where we already have a population of children who have now grown up and are supposed to be adults and may not yet be quite ready for adulthood because of the way they were brought up. Absolutely. I think, once they come to the workplace, we do have to work with them. We have to train, we have to retrain them into understanding how to be more resilient, how to be more adaptable, right? Because that is what the world demands now. And to do that, how do we do that? We can't throw them into a cold pool of water, because that's really not going to be productive. That's definitely going to be counterproductive. So how do we do that gently? How do we do that slowly, with a little bit of reward, with a little bit of consequence? And what we would have probably done when they were much younger, to do that now at adulthood. So organizations are going to have to sort of restructure the way we train our people, restructure the way we roll out communication, the way we interact with each other, the way we coach them to be really wholesome human beings in the organizational context. And further, that is what I think is the role now for HR, for leadership, for well-being, for all of us. I think that is what we need to do.
The generation today is basically saying, you need to trust me, you need to hold me responsible and accountable, and do not micromanage me, right? I need coaches today who will give me a nudge at the right time, rather than managers who are sitting at my desk and saying, tell me what all you have done. It is no longer an activity orientation that the employees are looking for, versus saying, hold me accountable for a larger purpose in life, right? And I think with the choices also available, because today, if I look at it, at least this generation is still able to practice idealism to an extent where I don't need to necessarily join a large company to earn a livelihood, right? People are more happier saying, as long as I can survive, to be associated with a larger purpose, I'm more happy being in that state of mind. So I think the values of what is important is changing drastically.
So you have, the millennials who are now getting into like mid-management leadership positions, and then the Gen Z. And, how do they relate to each other? How do they manage each other? I think there is a lot of learning that we can do. I think a lot of work needs to happen there. That is one thought that, I have.